Hello world and welcome to Coding After Effects. In this tutorial I want to go over the new variable syntax for the JavaScript engine in After Effects, which would be let and const. And before I actually go over the advantages of using lets and const, I have to go over a few different concepts, and I also have to go over the old way of creating variables in JavaScript. Before I go into that, I want to explain a concept you probably never heard of or knew about, which is scopes. For the sake of this tutorial and for the sake of getting understanding how scope works, I'm going to be referring to scopes as levels. So our global scope is going to be level 1, which is going to be our highest level. Level 2, which is going to be our function and block scope, because the code that's inside of here is going to be inside of this function. And our third level, which is going to be our block scope, which is going to be inside this for loop. And a for loop is not a function, so that's why it's just called a block scope. And one of the things you want, if you create a variable in level 1, you want it to be able to affect some of the things in level 2. But if you create a variable in level 2, you do not want that variable to affect anything in level 1. And the same with level 3. If you create a variable in level 3, you do not want that variable to affect anything in level 2 or in level 1. There are some exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, this is a steady rule. Anything that's in a lower level, you do not want it to affect anything on a higher level. And the highest being number 1, of course, level 2 being the second lowest, and level 3 being the lowest. You can have an infinite amount of levels. If you were to put another function inside of here, this would be another level inside of this for loop right here. So this can be infinite. So the same rules apply to that. So let's go up here and look at some of the old ways of creating variables. If you looked at a lot of my older tutorials, anytime I create a variable, I always put a var in front of that variable name. And there's a reason behind it. And one is to protect my code from any type of side effects, and also to protect it from affecting a verb in a higher level. That's the reason why I always put var in front of my variables. If you don't put var in front of your variable, then you have a good chance of that variable affecting variables on a higher level. So that's a lot of verbiage. Let me kind of show you what I mean by that. So if I write print, and inside of here, let me use a new syntax, backtick, to create strings. I went over string template literals and what they do on another tutorial, so check that out. You can see some of the advantages this has. But I'm going to write in here, I am a level 3 variable. And in my level 1, I'm going to write print equal I am a level 1 variable. Now, I'm going to go down to the very bottom and I'm going to get rid of these backticks. So this way, print over here would disappear, and instead we'll use the variable print instead of the string print. So, like I said before, when we're creating variables, we want the stuff in level 1 to affect the stuff in the lower levels, but not the other way around. And the reason for this is for readability reasons, and also so you don't get weird side effects like this. So the way to get rid of that, as I explained before, is if I write var in front of this, var is going to stop this variable from being seen in level 1. And that's because var does not like to be seen outside of functions. So even though you can affect something on level 2 because the level 2 is still a function, you will not be able to see it in level 1 because level 1 is not a function. So if I get rid of this function call right here, and I also get rid of the function, you will see that this var is now affecting my variable in level 1. And that's because there's no function stopping var from being seen at level 1. So even if I put var right here, it's not going to matter. And let me change the number to level 2 now. So while this is not a big issue for smaller programs or smaller expressions, if you were working on a more ambitious expression, then using this could give you an error. So to avoid that error or side effect that you don't want, instead of using var, you can use let. And once you use let will not be seen outside of these brackets or outside this for loop. So this level 2 is respecting our level 1 and not affecting a level 1 variable. And this is what we want. And this is how you kind of safeguard your variables from side effects and just bad looking code. So if that's let, then what's this const for? Well, this const is for keeping your variables the same. So we have print right here. If I type in print equals I am a new value, then I should get an error. And that's because consts don't like to be changed. Const is short for constant, so this variable should stay the same no matter what. So if you have a variable you don't want to change at all in your code, then you use const. Also, another good thing about using the new syntax is if you try to use let twice, you're going to get an error. That's not the same with var. If you use var twice, it's still going to allow you to use the var the second time around. So while let and const doesn't do anything too wild, new, and crazy as far as your code, it does protect you from writing bad code initially. So if you want to practice writing better code and have your code less with errors, then I would highly recommend you use let and const instead of using the old way, which is var, or not giving it any type of variable syntax at all. So that's really it for the new way of creating variables in After Effects. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, subscribe to my channel and watch some of my older videos. I go over expressions and script on a lot of my older videos. And until the next time, peace out, world.